Tonight, the exclusive interview, 3 years in the making. The one person who knew Michael Jackson better than anybody else, his mother, Catherine.
Every morning, all through the day, I think about Michael.
Catherine Jackson speaks out on Michael's childhood.
So Michael looked back at those times and he said he was abused. Well, they call it abuse, but sometime if it wasn't for the strap, what would this world be like today?
On what he missed. Did you ever hope that he would find true love?
I always thought about that, but Michael seemed happy. He found a lot of joy in his children.
On the talent that Michael hid from the world.
Michael loved art a lot. He loved paintings, he loved watercolors, he loved even the crayons.
And her explosive theory about Comrade Murray.
He did a terrible thing, and it might have been others involved. I don't know that, but I feel that.
Catherine Jackson, an extraordinary hour. The Piers Morgan interview starts now. Tonight, an extraordinary look at Michael Jackson's private life through his deeply personal artwork. He started drawing when he was a child. The pictures offer new revelations about the iconic singer. Much of it is kept in a secret location at an airport hangar in Los Angeles. Some of it is here in the studio with me tonight. Joining me now in an exclusive interview is Michael's mother, Catherine Jackson, and his mentor and good friend, artist Brett Livingston-Strong. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
We're surrounded by this incredible art, most of which has never been seen, that your son Michael did. What I'm struck by, I love this picture, Catherine, which is, how old is he there, Michael?
He's about 9 or 10 there.
And he's clutching his own work of art. He painted that.
Yes.
I don't know what's more impressive, the art or the fantastic hat he's wearing. Very stylish. But clearly, from an early age, he loved art. Tell me about that side of Michael.
Michael loved art a lot. He loved paintings, he loved watercolors, he loved even the crayons. And he would always draw. And when he was even in school, he would draw pictures, and they took one of his drawings and put it on the front of the yearbook. And
was he self-taught? Did he teach himself?
Taught himself.
Amazing talent.
Just a talent that he had. And I can't say too much more about him, only his father was an artist too. He loved to paint and draw. So I thought maybe he might have picked it up from him, but he had a natural talent for it. Michael did.
And did he always paint? I mean, throughout his life, was he always painting secretly without people really being aware of it?
Yes, because when he was just a child, when we moved to Havenhurst, before we remodeled, it had a little house in the back, and he took that little house and he made it out to an art studio for himself.
What do you think the art brought him? Painting and stuff. What did it give him?
Well, you know what? I really can't answer that question, but sometimes when he's not doing anything, he would go and start painting, and I think that it's a way of him just relaxing.
A bit of escapism.
Yes.
Brett, you got to know Michael 25 years ago. Tell me about how you met, and tell me about this art collection, because it's something that people don't really know much about.
Right. Well, we first met about 1979 through Mayor Bradley of Los Angeles and also through Lawrence Welk, 2 different occasions. And the first time that I had a chance to talk to Michael, he says, "Now, you're a sculptor?" And I said, "Yes, what type of sculptor?" I said, "I build monuments." And he goes, "Wow, I've never met a monument builder before." And I said to him, thinking, well, I know who Michael is, but I said, "Well, what do you do, Michael?" And he says, "Oh, I love life." And I always remember that. He said, "I love life." And I said, "Wow, that's a great job. I love life too." And he says, "I'm an artist too, and I like to draw things that inspire my life." And
this collection, how many pieces are there in it?
Well, we have 98 pieces. Other people have some, and there's about 20 of those pieces are drawn. He did artwork on the other side. I made the paper for Michael in the 1980s, special paper, so if anybody got it, they couldn't, counterfeit it. And so he ran out of the paper. That's why he started doing artwork on the reverse side.
I mean, some of the pieces here, the Martin Luther King picture, Abraham Lincoln, apparently he painted drew a lot of former presidents. Well, he loved to do that.
He loved Abraham Lincoln. He loved freedom. He loved the whole aspect of people being free, artists being able to create, you know, beautiful things to inspire people like he wanted to, you know, create his music.
And Catherine, he had a strange obsession with the number 7 and
Yes.
with chairs. Now, tell me why those two things recur in the pictures all the time.
Well, Michael was the 7th child. His name had 7 letters in it. He would always talk about that. And you know, 7, the number 7 it means completeness. And in the Bible it tells us. So
it was like a lucky number for him.
for him.
And what about the chairs? Why did he like drawing or painting chairs?
He just had an obsession of chairs. The chairs that not just a plain chair, but chairs that you see had a lot of art in it. A lot of curves, a lot of other things like that, and he would draw.
There's one very prophetic picture, which is of a little boy sitting on his own in a corner. And we're just seeing it now on screen. What's so poignant is that Michael had written next to this, in his own handwriting, "Before you judge me, try hard to love me, look within your heart, then ask, have you seen my childhood?" What do you think he meant by that, Catherine?
You know what? I couldn't tell you, but that is the picture. I have one, too, like that. Are they showing it on?
Yeah, we're looking at it now, yeah. And it's,
Yes.
it's a very, I mean, the boy looks, I guess...
He looks sad, and he looks... You know, I think it's because Michael always said he missed most of his childhood.
Yeah.
And he loved to run and play. He loved children. And I think this is what this picture stands for.
I've interviewed a lot of people about Michael. Many of your family, your children. I've interviewed Janet, LaToya, Jermaine. All say the same thing, that Michael was such a happy child. He loved just playing pranks on people and all that kind of thing. Do you ever feel a regret as his mother that he did lose the childhood, really, to superstardom? I mean, if you had your time again, would you want the kids, especially Michael, to go into that crazy world?
Well, to a certain extent. None of my children really were just loose. Because my husband was sort of, I should say, very strict about things like that. Because where we came from, there was a lot of crime. And we cared about our children. We didn't want them out there in the street running around, breaking in cars and doing like most of the children did back then. And we did things with them in the house, and that's when they started singing. But as far as having a good time and all, they were in the Little League and things like that. And then they learned to play the music. And Michael always said he didn't have a childhood, but he enjoyed what he was doing.
I think that's true, isn't it? I mean, you talked about his father being tough with them. Was he too tough or not, do you think? Did he have to be that tough?
I didn't think he was too tough, but back in those days, everybody raised their children about the same. If you did something wrong, that was terribly wrong, you got a scolding for it, and you also got a licking, as they called it, for it. But today you can't do that. So Michael looked back at those times and he said he was abused. Well, they call it abuse, but sometime if it wasn't for the strap, what would this world be like today?
Do you think that the world has gone a bit soft in terms of
I think
discipline?
they've gone a bit too soft. I really do. And then they have too much things out there for our children to do. And they're too open with a lot of things, so things that we weren't open years ago about. And I just feel bad because I know that the world is, I think it's doomed.
Do you?
The Bible tells us the world would be destroyed, so I think.
I mean, when you look at America, modern America now, where do you think people are going wrong, especially in bringing up children?
Well, I think society sometimes is the fault of it because they tell the children to call 911, and in some cases, maybe they need to do that. But in some cases, some parents are afraid of their children. And some children tell their parents, well, if you do this to me, I'm going to call 911 or I'm going to call the police or whatever the children can. So what are the parents to do?
Well, it's interesting, when I talk to your children, all of them have said at various stages of their lives, well, we had these really tough upbringing and our father was really strict, but they've all, as they've got older, and in some cases had their own kids, they've begun to realize that maybe it was the kind of tough love that they needed. It's been interesting for me to talk to them now they're a bit older. It must be, for you, it must be an interesting experience too, to hear their views change as they get older.
They do. Children change. For instance, Tito, he was one of them that said, excuse me, that said, I'm going to raise my children just like, they call their father Joseph, just like Joseph raised me. Because he always said, my children don't get in trouble or anything like that. All these terrible things they laid on Michael, he didn't do these things. But it's just, they're wicked people out there, and they accuse you of them. But
it must have been very hurtful for you as his mother.
Oh my!
Some of the things that Michael was accused of, the court cases he had to fight and so on. How did you feel as his mother?
Oh my gosh, it almost destroyed me in a way. You know, when I say it just hurt, because I know Michael didn't do those terrible things. But then I say there are so many wicked people. Why are they doing this to him?
Just to hold that thought for a moment, Catherine. When we come back, I want to talk to you about Michael's life and what his legacy should be. I'm back now with Michael Jackson's mother, Catherine, and his longtime friend, Brett Livingston-Strong. Did you ever try and advise Michael that his own behaviour, you know, I interviewed Michael a few years ago, and he had a very childlike quality to him. But did you ever feel concerned that he was allowing himself to get put into positions, you know, when he had all these young boys come round to stay and so on? Did you ever say as his mother, Michael, I think you should be careful here. The rest of the world may not see this in the innocent way that you do.
I've talked to him about it. I never told him to stop you having children around, but he did stop having a lot. Most of the children that were around Michael was his own relatives. And I can remember that my sister-in-law, she walked into the store and she saw this, one of these tabloids. And they had something ugly to say in the headlines. And she just went berserk. She said, those are my grandchildren. They're Michael's cousins. Why are they saying this about him?
Do you think all the accusations, the allegations, the trials that he had to go through, do you think it all contributed in the end to his physical condition and his early death? I mean, do you think that all the drugs he was taking for the anxiety, for the lack of sleep, the painkillers and so on, was it all connected, do you think, in the end, to the pressure that he felt and the tension and the stress?
You know what? I think a lot of that was exaggerated about the different things that he was taking. Because I've been to my son's house unannounced, and I've been there announced. I have never seen him in that way. I know he was taking painkillers because he got burnt on top of his head. Very painful. But all this other stuff they added to it, I don't know if that was the truth or not, but I don't think that have anything to do with the way he died.
What do you think, as his mother, caused his death?
I don't know. All I know is they used propofol, and they shouldn't have used it, and they used it in the wrong setting. That's all I know, and that's what causes death.
What are your feelings towards Dr. Conrad Murray? Do you blame him?
You know what? I can't even describe the way I feel about him. He did a terrible thing, and it might have been others involved. I don't know that, but I feel that. You know what? I'd rather not answer that question. The only thing he did for a person's life, 4 years in jail is not enough. I'll never see my son again, but he can get out and he'll enjoy his children. But
Michael trusted him.
yes, he did. He did. He trusted.
He trusted a lot of people.
He trusted everybody.
Did you meet Conrad Murray?
Never met him. still to this day, I have never met him.
Has he ever tried to contact you?
I don't think so.
He's ever written to you or anything?
No.
I mean, it was a devastatingly awful thing to happen. You lose this son of yours. He's just 50 years old. I mean, it's half a life, really.
Yes.
Will you ever get over this, Catherine, do you think?
Never. Every morning, all through the day, I think about Michael. If I wake up through the night, my mind is there. But
what do you think when you think of him?
I just miss him. But being a Christian and believing in the resurrection, I feel that I'll see him again. I'm sorry,
It's perfectly understandable. You're his mother, you know. It's, I can't imagine a worse thing. I'm a parent myself to 4 kids. I can't even imagine how horrendous it must be to lose a child.
I know.
It's so unnatural, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it should be.
Lots of people say, Catherine, that Michael, in the build-up to his death, was working too hard, was too tired, he couldn't sleep, all that kind of... You've heard all this. Is that true? Because I've also heard from people that were working with him on the tour and everything, that he was pretty fit, that he was enjoying it, and he was having a good time, and he was excited. What's the truth?
Excuse me, what's...
How did you think he was in the build-up to his death, physically?
You know, we have a trial going on, and I'd rather not say. I talked a lot already about it.
Were you concerned about it?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Because when they told me that he had 50 shows going on, I was concerned about those shows. I thought it was a little bit too much, because Michael hadn't been on stage for about 10 years, you know. And I called them, and I told them, because the way they had it structured, they said every other night that he would be working. On a night, off a night, on a night, off a night. And he was used to working at least once or twice a week. And I just kept calling them, telling them they had to change that schedule, because that was, I didn't like the way it was going. I thought it was a little bit too much for him.
Did he listen to you, Michael? Or
Oh, yes.
did you feel that there were bad people around him?
Yes, I do.
Enabling, I guess is the word you would use. People that were just allowing him to...
It was, I just don't want to answer those questions right now, but I do feel that it was. They didn't care about him. All they cared about was money.
It was all about money, you think?
Yes.
Let's take a short break. When we come back, I want to talk more about this incredible art. I also want to talk about how Michael's children are doing. You're raising them now.
Yes.
I think people are fascinated by that and how they're getting on. They seem to be getting on great, which is good news.
Yeah, they are.
We'll come back in a moment.
Okay.
Daddy has been the best father you could ever imagine. And I just wanted to say I love him. I love him so much.
The heartbreaking scenes at Michael Jackson's memorial service there with Paris Jackson, his daughter. A moment many will never forget. I'm back for an exclusive interview with Michael Jackson's mother, Catherine Jackson, and his art mentor, Brett Livingston-Strong. Incredibly painful for those poor kids, particularly in public like that. You've now taken them into your home. You're bringing up Michael's children.
Yes.
How are they getting on?
They're getting on very well.
They seem, I mean, to be doing remarkably well. They also seem to have, between them, all his kind of zest for life, his talent, his confidence in public, all those things. It's extraordinary to watch. It must be for you too. It must be like almost reliving Michael.
They're in school, And the two oldest children go to private school. The youngest doesn't want to leave home yet, so we have a teacher there for him. Excuse me. In school, and the oldest Prince, the oldest boy, is such a great student.
Is he?
His grades are so good. They're A+.
Do you see the spirit of Michael in them?
Yes, I do. I do.
How would you feel if they want to go? I mean, Paris has already started down this road. If they want to go into show business.
Yes, Paris does.
Do you feel pleased about that or concerned?
Well, I'm pleased and I'm concerned at the same time, because I don't think that Michael would wanted her to be out there this soon. But she wanted it so badly, and she kept saying, please, Grandma, I want this, you know. And so it was something she really wanted, so I just gave in and said, okay.
And how good is she? I mean, how talented are these?
She's very good. She was showing me, I said, well, how do you know you can act? You haven't had acting. So I started sending her to acting, you know, after that. But before then, she said, just try me. Just try me. She said, and she said, I can cry on cue. And she showed me how she can cry. And then we...
Amazing.
Yes,
that's not easy.
She's very good. She is good.
How do you think they have coped with losing their father?
You know, I don't think that they act like normal children. They play, they have a good time, but I don't think they'll ever forget. I don't think so. But they're doing quite well, very well.
Brett, come back to you and Michael, because you knew him extremely well. Very heartrending talking to Catherine about a lot of this stuff. Can't get a more powerful voice, really, than Michael's mother. Does this resonate with you? I mean, what was your feeling about Michael in the build-up to his death? Were you concerned about him as a friend?
Well, his enthusiasm to succeed brought all his strength out in him, and he just wanted to create more, and he wanted to be in front of his fans again, you know, and he was enthusiastic.
Were you concerned as a friend of his about what was possibly going on?
Well, during the time that he was pretty much studying to do these concerts, I had very little contact with him. So, but the contact that I did have, he's upbeat and enthusiastic, and he would call me early hours of the morning and leave me some fantastic messages. So I never knew that he had any problem. But I do know that over the years that, you know, he would trust people, and he would not do any due diligence, or sometimes his inner feelings he wouldn't listen to them. And I think he had a lot of trust that he should have questioned.
You also said an interesting thing to me in the break about Michael's relationship with his father. Yes,
he loved his father, and I think a lot of the publicity that's come out that his father, you know, may have been harsh on him, you know, I think people should know that he respected his father. He thought his father was fantastic, that, you know, gave him and his brothers and sisters a wonderful future, and he respected him. His father turned up at all those terrible trials that he had to go through. He was always supportive of him, you know, but yeah, he loved him.
Catherine, what would you like Michael's legacy to be?
I know he'll be remembered as the artist he was, but a lot of people misunderstood him. They didn't know Michael loved life, he loved people, and he gave so much to charity, and he always loved to give to the people that didn't have, even since he was a little kid, about 6 or 7 years old. As I always tell the story about, he was laying on the floor watching TV, and remember when these little black kids had the big stomachs and flies flying all around them and their mouths and all, and he would start crying. And he was telling me, he said, Mommy, one day I'm going to do something about this.
You mean the scenes from Ethiopia and places in Africa?
Yeah, and the African
with the starving
kids,
young children.
with starving young children with the big bellies from and and he's always been giving to charities and things like that, and he gave more than people knew.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about Michael for people who didn't know him?
The things that were coming out, the things that media, and you know, most people believe what they hear and what they read, and these were all terrible lies.
Like what? Like what?
And like they were saying, he was molesting young boys and other things that he was doing, that he might have been on painkillers, things like that. But as far as them trying to make him out to be a terrible person, he was not that.
Let's just take a quick break and we'll come back and talk about this a little further in just a few moments.
There have been many disgusting statements made recently concerning allegations of improper conduct on my part. I ask all of you to wait and hear the truth before you label or condemn me. Don't treat me like a criminal, because I am innocent.
And when you're his mother, you would know Michael better than most people. Do you think it is even remotely possible that he could have done anything inappropriate with a young boy?
No way. No way could Michael have done that. He would always tell me that the things that he loved the most was children. He would rather slit his own wrist than to hurt a child. And we would sit and talk about that. And he said people want to make out for me to be this terrible person.
He was misinterpreted by people who may have been jealous of his success, but also he loved animals, he loved nature, and children had a special feeling in his heart, and it was an inspiration for him.
I mean, Michael, he was unconventional. I mean, he never really grew up, even though he was a fantastic businessman and incredibly successful. You always got the feeling that he wanted to be within a kind of childlike world. It was like a security blanket for him in many ways. Is that how you felt?
Michael, he was one of my younger children, and his brothers had children, so he grew up also with them. And he just grew up playing all the time. He grew into an adult, and the kids would come over and he'd still play hide and go seek with them and everything. So, and he did Neverland. He did it for children. And also, I imagine he did it for himself because he didn't get a chance to go to those theme parks like other children did. And he would have busloads of children, school classes, children that, even in his theater, he had 2 beds, 2 hospital beds, and he would have the sick children to come and watch movies and rides and things like that. And the children that was bedridden, he made sure that he had a place for them, so they can see the movies or have shows on the stage and all of that. So,
how did you feel about the extraordinary level of fame that Michael had? Because he was the most famous person on the planet for years. Did that scare you, that level of fame?
No, not really. I was like Michael. I guess he didn't act like it. He didn't act like he was the most famous person in the world. He didn't act like, he was just a down-to-earth person. He's very, very mild-tempered.
How often would you talk to him?
I talk to him at least twice a month, and sometimes more.
Did you feel you had a very close relationship?
Yes.
Do you feel he confided in you?
Yes, he did.
Did you ever hope that he would find true love?
I always thought about that, but Michael seemed happy, so I wasn't too worried about it. And when he found a lot of joy in his children, and in his some of his nephews and nieces that he was very close to.
I mean, the thing I think that should always be reminded, I think, when we talk about Michael, is just his unbelievable talent. I mean, I had never seen a more talented entertainer. The singing, the dancing, the showmanship. You know, I was telling you before we started about this show I saw in Paris when, you know, he did the stunt at the end and the space guy flies out of the stadium, you know, and it's just so crazy and it was so brilliantly done. You really thought Michael had done this. And it was at the end of a spellbinding concert, the like of which I've never seen before or since. I mean, he was a unique talent, wasn't he? One of the greatest talents ever in entertainment. Can you answer that as his mother or not? I mean, did you feel that?
I did. Michael was a perfectionist. He, whatever he did, he wanted to be the best. He was the first one to have so many #1 hits on his album, because remember, albums used to be where you only had 1 hit or 2 hits, and the rest of them would be album songs.
All his songs were #1.
And he told me, he said, I don't believe in album songs. I believe every song should be a great song.
Would he try stuff out with you? Did he?
Yes, he played most of the things that he had. He played for me.
And if you said, Michael, I don't really like that one, would he drop it?
Yes. You know what? I didn't see anything that I didn't like that he did.
What was your favorite of all his songs?
Man in the Mirror.
Was it? Why?
That's one of my favorites. And I like the Earth song. And
Why Man in the Mirror?
Well, it was a message, a great message. A lot of his songs had messages, but I think this was the best of all.
Was Michael happy in the end, do you think?
I felt he was happy. I could never, and I always talked to the girl that was the kid's nanny, Grace, and she always said that I always say, was Michael happy? Because they were accusing him of all these things, and she would always say, Michael had good times. We had good times together. Me and the kids and Michael, we would play. You know, Michael liked to run and play on the beach or whatever. And she assured me that, you know, because
despite everything, he managed to have a lot of happy times. That's good to hear, isn't it?
Yes, it's good to hear, but when you know you're not guilty of anything, but if he thought, you know what, if he was guilty of these things, they was accusing him, he could never smile again, I imagine, because look at that. And they put it in the papers, and, well, they had the trials. And this, the first kid that accused him of child molestation, because his father made him do it. He even told Micah his father made him do it. I don't know if many people know, but after Michael died, I think his name's Jordan.
Geordie Chandler, yeah.
Yeah, Jordan. He came out and he said he wished that he could have told Michael before he passed, let him know that he had come into the public and admitted he never touched him. And
how did that make you feel?
It made me feel good, but you know, I knew it all the time that Michael hadn't done anything, because I knew he wouldn't do that.
Coming up, Michael's great wish was to build a memorial, and I want to talk to both of you about that after the break. Now, Michael Jackson's mother, Catherine, and his longtime friend, Brett Livingston Strong. I remember when Michael died, I went home to London, and I've got 3 sons, and my youngest son was only, I think, 8 years old. And he suddenly began playing Michael's music over and over for weeks and months. He'd never heard of Michael Jackson before.
Really?
And it was really amazing to me that a whole new generation, and it was the one positive I could see coming out of his awful death, was that actually a whole new generation of kids fell in love with Michael Jackson again and played his music and realized how phenomenal an entertainer he was. Amazing thing. Brett, let's talk about two things I wanted to just wrap up with. One is, what are you going to do with this art?
Well, Michael spent a good part of 25 years making this art, and you know, it was like a private world for him. While a lot of the public thought that he may have been, you know, doing things that they thought he shouldn't be doing, he was actually creating art, and it was like a world for him to retreat into this spiritual type of feeling where he would express his ideas, and he absolutely loved it, and it made him feel good.
So people are going to hear about this, and they're going to see these amazing pictures, and they're going to want to know if they can get hold of any.
Yeah, well, Michael always wanted to exhibit his art, and unfortunately that didn't happen. He did want to sell it, and so a few pieces were sold before his passing, but since then, you know, we've been working together, planning how to exhibit it. But he did, a long time ago, want to build a monument for where he wanted his fans to get married, and we have a model of it here.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's based on the Prince Albert Monument in London.
Michael and I went around that monument. I mean, we went all over the world together, but he loved monuments, and he thought I was deeply into monuments, so he wanted me to come along. So we went around the Prince Albert Monument, and so he wrote on a card that he got that day, and he said we should try and work out a design together on that. So we came up with this kind of Gothic, futuristic.
And his concept was that it would become like a wedding chapel.
He wanted his fans...
People would go in and he'd be there.
Even though it's his statue, but in 2002, this was years before, but by 2002, he had one of his lawyers write me a letter saying, hey, Brett, can you put a sculpture of Michael's three beautiful children in there? Michael wants that, you know. He just wanted me to have that get that officially. And so I have that in writing saying, well, he wanted that, but he wanted somewhere where his fans could go and in this structure, he wanted his music.
And is this going to get built?
Yes, because we can sell his art and build his, even though it's a monument for where he wanted people to be married, it's a monument to his love of life.
Where will it go?
Well, at the time, he was thinking Las Vegas. And after what happened to him in Santa Barbara, he wanted to live in Las Vegas. He'd found a house. He was calling it Wonderland, but he was counting on the success of This Is It to
So the idea will be obviously that monument, but also to maybe exhibit the pictures and to sell some of the pictures.
Yes, he thought that his fans would support his art, and by the sale of the art, he could support the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, and we all went there and put some of Michael's art in the hospital when it was opened, and he was hoping to be there in, like, I think 2007 or 8, after he came back from Bahrain. He wanted to put some of his art there, but they weren't finished with the hospital. So when it did get finished, we went there with Bert and Mary Sugarman, and that's Mary Hart, and so I was hoping that they would permanently put Michael's art in there because it's a children's hospital, and I thought they welcomed his art with open arms.
Well, that'd be great.
He also wanted, from the sale of his art, to support, not only children but animals, and like some of his music was in support of the world. He was a very warm person who, like his dear mother here, very, very sweet and honest person.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating experience meeting you, Catherine, and talking to you. You're one of those people I've looked at from a distance and always wondered what you'd be like, how you would talk about Michael. It's been a riveting interview. Wasn't expecting this, and I do appreciate you being so honest and open. And I think a lot of his fans will too, because you've certainly given them an extraordinary insight into your son and what he was like. And good luck with raising his kids, because I can't think of a more valuable testimony, I guess, to his life, than that those kids get the best chance in life to live up to him.
Thank you for having me here.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you also.
Nice to meet you too, Brett.
Thank you very much.
An extraordinary interview. Catherine Jackson and Brett Livingston-Strong. Coming up, only in America.
This is a very interesting piece because Michael wrote this quote about Michelangelo. He loved Michelangelo's work, and he often wrote these little notes, and so here he is quoting Michelangelo.
A rare look inside the private world of Michael Jackson, an exclusive tour of the secret location full of hundreds of millions of dollars worth of art that Michael created. For tonight's Only in America, the Michael Jackson we never knew. You saw some of his drawings and sketches here tonight, but most of his artwork is behind closed doors at a secret airport hangar. Few have ever seen it until now. This is Michael's private world of paintings and portraits. We were given rare and extraordinary access inside that hangar. Its location, as I say, has to remain a secret, but its contents have now been revealed. This is how the icon found happiness away from the stage and studio with brushes, pencils, and in particular watercolor. He wanted to be known as an artist, not just the most famous entertainer in modern history. These are Michael's pastels he'd like to work with. Some estimates have valued the collection at a staggering $900 million. Here, a picture of the Statue of Liberty. Here, a sketch of Frankenstein and Peter Pan. He was obsessed with chairs and the number 7. He was the 7th child, as his mother explained earlier. And here on paper, works of Michelangelo that Michael cherished. It says, "I know the creator will go, but his work survives. That is why, to escape death, I attempt to bind my soul to my work." Michael Jackson did not escape death, but his soul does live on in the music and the art that he created, and above all, the lives he touched and forever changed. That's all for us tonight. ACU 360 starts now.